the disaster thriller Leave the World Behind, which was directed by Sam Esmail, you'll remember from Mr. Robot and Homecoming, that also starred Julia Roberts. And this was produced by the Obamas, Barack and Michelle Obama. This stars Julia Roberts, Mahershala Ali, Myha'la, you'll remember from Bodies, 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 and Dumb Money. It also stars Kevin Bacon, Ethan Hawke. It's stacked, but when it comes to the story plot, it lost me. I had high expectations that I think affected me more than anything. I think what I was disappointed in is that, one, it leans so heavily into the M. Night Shyamalan aesthetic, especially Signs and Knock at the Cabin. I didn't like Knock at the Cabin. What reminded me most about that film is the camera maneuvers. This had more style when it comes to the camera aesthetic than it had substance when it comes to plot and story development. I think this story overall was so underdeveloped. To have this type of star power, it was criminally underdeveloped, and it had these sectional chapters. It was sectioned off by chapters that really didn't elevate the tension in any way, and I think it was over descriptive and unnecessary. What this had in style, these camera theatrics, it criminally lacked in plot. So this is being touted as Don't Look Up of 2023, and I don't think so, and I didn't like Don't Look Up either. I think this is very much like an M. Night Shyamalan film, and in that way it doesn't have its own identity. Julia Roberts and Ethan Hawke play Amanda and Clay Sanford. They have 2 teen kids. They live in New York City, and they break away for vacation to go upstate. They rent this beautiful house in the middle of nowhere. It's very secluded. They don't know their neighbors. There are neighbors, but they live relatively far away. They rent this house to get away, to give the kids a break. In the middle of the night, they get an unexpected visit that's very ominous from Mahershala Ali's character. He plays G.H. Scott, and his adult daughter, played by Myha'la, and she plays Ruth. It's very mysterious, their visit. They tell Clay and Amanda that they have nowhere else to go. They want to come home to their house because in the city there is a cyber attack, and they have no reception service. Nothing is working in the city, and they couldn't go to a hotel in the city, so they came home. And they compelled to the good nature of these guests in their home, these paying guests, to allow them to stay. Although Amanda is apprehensive because they don't know these people and they have no way of proving who they are, they relent and allow them to stay in their house. The next day, the cyber attacks get worse, and they really don't understand. They have no connection whatsoever to the outside world. Planes are falling out of the sky. Wild animals are taking shelter on the property. Electric cars run by computers really are crashing into each other. Like, there is no connection, literally no internet connection because of this cyber attack. And it's not just on the earth, but it's also in space from the satellite. So this is an apocalyptic survival thriller, which on paper I thought was a really good concept, but in story development it felt so underdeveloped. I just feel like these characters were not likable. They are shrouded in so much mystery. We never really get to know them enough, and in that way I didn't find a connection to them to even like or care what they're going through. And I think that was a major problem with this film. There's no connectivity, and there are bouts of silence throughout this film where there's really nothing happening, and it is distracted. These moments of silence where there's no dialogue is distracted by this score that seems to just take up space. And what was really distracting for me, the experience of it all, was that director Sam Esmail decided to use these really stylized camera maneuvers, these really blunt cuts, and the transitions that dissolved from scene to scene that seemed so archaic. It seemed like there was more attention put into the style of the cinematography than there was into the story development. I think the story was criminally underdeveloped. And because the story was so underdeveloped and there is no way to understand or relate, I'll say, to these characters, there was a disconnect there. So this wasn't a good film in that way. There was a good soundtrack, but it wasn't enough to keep me interested in the story because the story just doesn't feel relatable. And this is a really good time for a story like this when AI is taking over and everyone's just online creating content. They missed an opportunity to be more relatable in the story. I think that was missed. I think it didn't capitalize on a good concept. It really fails in execution on what could have been a good concept to build from. I think it missed that opportunity, maybe because it wanted to identify too much with M. Night Shyamalan's aesthetic. Listen, this is an accessible film because it is a streaming movie and it is available to stream on Netflix now. It just wasn't good, in my opinion. At any rate, Leave the World Behind is currently streaming on Netflix.